Excuse me, Flo? Like the TV show? Okay. What's your soup du jour?
It's the soup of the day.
That sounds good. I'll have that.
Welcome to Omaha, Nebraska, where we are going to entertain you today with, of course, Soup du Jour, which is to say, it's the soup of the day. We hope you liked our last episode. We hope this one gets better, just like with anything.
Yeah, maybe not quite as weird as the last one.
Probably
but I don't know.
not.
I'm just...
Cole has
here.
no idea what we're doing. I have the plan for Soup du Jour today, and I hope that you find it enjoyable. But to start, we must have our soup of the day. And what are we having, Cola?
We are having eggnog, which I've never drank before. So I'm a little nervous.
If you like eggnog, let us know what it is. Do you like about it? Do you buy it like this, or do you make
this
your
is
own?
an Evan Williams brand, and it says Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, blended whiskey, rum, and brandy. And that just sounds scary. It's nice and cold. And then we're pouring it in these, you'll have to show them the glass, Mom. These beautiful glasses that we received from Sterling Cut Glass, which is a new supplier we just found, and they have been fabulous, and their stuff is beautiful. And so this is gonna be the first thing I drink out of it. Oh boy.
Cheers.
Cheers. Let's see. Oh, that's tasty.
Yeah. It's like way better than rum chata. It's got like the consistency of rum chata, but much, much better.
Super smooth. I thought it was going to be more whiskey,
Things
which
could
I'm
get
not
a
a fan of.
Things could get a little silly at the end of this episode of Soup du Jour. Well, I usually also have a word of the day or a word of the episode. And last time it was Pang Wangler, if any of you were watching. And this week it's super exciting. The word of the day is titty nope. And if you don't know what a titty nope is, you're probably thinking in the wrong direction. So get your mind out of the gutter. A titty nope is what's going to be probably left in our glass by the time we get down to the bottom. Or if we eat all these nuts and there's a few crumbs. Or on the side of your plate, there's just a few crumbles of things or little leftover pieces of, it's whatever, it's just something that's kind of left over that nobody really wants to eat.
And you call that a titty nope.
It's called a titty nope. I think that's a fun one. I think people probably had that this weekend. It was Thanksgiving. You probably had a titty nope all over your plates. Everything.
Wow, titty nope. That's a new one for me. Never heard of that one.
It's exciting. So cheers.
You got me on that one.
Clean your plates and you'll have no titty nopes.
Titty nopes. That's just, it's kind of fun to say.
I feel
titty
like,
nope.
Well, today, guys, we're going to have a good time because I'm going to interview Cola. And I know her quite well because, of course, she's my daughter and my business partner. But I thought it would be fun for everyone to learn a little bit more about her story, where she comes from, and what has brought her to this point she's at in her life today. So welcome, Cola.
Wow, thanks. Thanks for
I'm
having
going
me.
to try to be like a talk show host and ask you some questions for a little bit, even though I know where you came from. Just kind of give me a little bit of a background. Like, what was life like for you growing up? And it brought you into the world you're in today. But when you started all out, what kind of a kid were you? What was life like for you?
Well, I grew up in a town of 800-ish people. It's called Hooper, Nebraska, which most people don't know where that is when they live in Nebraska. So, small town outside of Omaha. I grew up a total tomboy. I wanted my room painted green and yellow, and what did you say?
You're a girl, and we're not going to have a Packers.
I love the Green Bay Packers, so I wanted my room painted green and yellow, and she said no. But grew up playing sports, doing 4-H, all sorts of fun things, and grew up in a small town and loved it. And then moved down to Elkhorn, which is a suburb of Omaha, and never thought I would live in a big city. And now I'm here for life. I don't know if I could imagine really living anywhere else permanently. So it's kind of crazy the path that life leads you on, because I didn't think I would end up living in a bigger city ever. Ever, ever.
And that's the key word I'm hearing you say. You said never.
Never.
Why do you think you never thought you wanted that life? And Omaha's really small compared to most big
other
cities.
big cities.
But for Nebraska, it's the biggest city we have.
Yeah, I think just growing up in the small town and seeing what it was like to live in a small town, you knew everybody. I thought that was such a cool thing. And then as I got a little bit older and we ended up moving down to Elkhorn, I was like, you know what, this is cool too. So even though I had this vision and idea in my head of what life was going to look like, it changed, and it changed for the better. And we wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now had that big change not happened. And so I think throughout life, there's those big moments that, man, they suck at the time because we went through some tough stuff, and that was why we left the small town. But overall, it leads you to where you're supposed to go. And that's why we're sitting here right now.
Exactly. And you are a pang wangler, which means you had different things happen to you, but you smile the whole time and you make it look relatively easy. So let's pull on that thread a little bit. Where did you have some failures, or there could be failures or challenges, but let's just focus on the word failure right now. Where did you feel like you failed in your life that maybe was a catalyst for moving you forward to something else you wanted to do?
Well, I feel like there's lots of examples of times that you fail, but some of them that stick out, relate to the sports world. And so I was a volleyball player. I loved playing volleyball. Went out to the University of Nebraska at Kearney and played volleyball there. And there were plenty of moments throughout that time, and even back into high school, where I failed. I didn't make a team, or when I really thought I should have, or I got pulled from a game and wanted to leave the school I was at. And you get, go through these ups and downs of emotions. But overall, I was able to look back at those failures and realize I learned something, which unfortunately, the failures haven't stopped now today. I mean, just last week, something happened with an order, and I was like, that was a fail, and it was all on me. How can I learn from this and make it better in the future? And we fixed it, and it's all good. But it's crazy how those moments when you're younger playing sports or doing different things still are happening today in different ways, and you're still using some of those same lessons you learned at that time in your life.
So with those moments, is it something that invokes fear for you, or do you take those and realize I've succeeded from those moments, but some things are bigger? For example, starting a business, which you and I started in May of 2017, roughly, really officially in June of 2017. So we call ourselves a seasoned startup, right? You grew up in the industry. I've been in the industry for 30 plus years. But we started over, just clean slate. And when we did that, there are bound to be fears of financially being able to be okay, and just the fears, am I going to make it? And there's always the fear of doubt because the world tells us differently, and we're a woman-owned business, and all the things that can go against you can create these fears. So what do you do to look at those? And how do you put yourself in the moment to say, this is scary, I'm dealing with these things. Now we're in a moment in the world where the whole world's been pretty scared with COVID. Mm-hmm. So what does that look like for you, and how do you manage what your fears are so that you can keep, pushing through? We have to walk through the darkness, right? We can't stop and chill out and have a hamburger and go, oh my God, I'll just be depressed here. We have to keep pushing through. So tell us about that.
I think, looking back when we first started the business, the thing that we kind of told each other was, well, let's give it a shot. The worst thing that can happen is we fail. And in 6 months to a year, we close our doors. I go back to scrolling for jobs online. You find something else to do, and we move on with our lives. But if we don't try it, we'll never know. And so I think I've tried to really use that idea in everything we do. And it can be something really small, like the order that got messed up last week, or it can be big business decisions, or trying to figure out the finances and cash flow, and especially this year with the COVID stuff going on, of really trusting our process of what we're doing, and the rest of it will work out. I mean, I think there's this mix of being aware of what's going on, knowing certain things with your numbers, with your processes, yet not getting so consumed that it completely stresses you out and it doesn't become a fear, it just becomes maybe an obstacle instead would be a better word, because I think if we're scared of it, it's just going to cause worry, and there's no point to worry. And so how you deal with those things to say, it's going to be okay. It's a little, you're a little nervous right now or something, but eventually we're going to be fine. And we're going to trust what we're doing to be okay in the end. Did that answer your question?
I think it does. And I think when we started, we really didn't give ourselves the option of a plan B. We really just said, this is plan A, and we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that from you talked about the sports and life and 4-H, and maybe a lot of people don't even have an association of what 4-H was, but we showed cattle and sheep and hogs, and we did all these things, and they are all kind of these grounded steps for us to build confidence in who we were as not just humans, but as women, and that we could achieve things. And I've enjoyed watching you achieve a lot of things. If you think back, if we just step away from the promotional world and the business world and think back to like maybe one of your most incredible memories as an athlete, like an incredible highlight for you, whether it was in high school where you had a great career, or in college, you were an All-American, you were the setter of the year, you had incredible accolades, which weren't anything that were ever really your driving force. You weren't trying to be get an award at the end for yourself. You wanted something bigger for your teams. So when you think back, what is one of your most favorite athletic moments?
Oh gosh, there were so many, because I got to play with so many awesome people, and it has created lifelong friendships now. But probably the top of the list has to go winning a state championship in 2004. I was only a sophomore, and I didn't even know in high school. I didn't even know if I could make the varsity team. Any team, let alone the varsity, and then I ended up playing, and then we ended up winning the gold medal in a 5-set match that came down to the wire, and it was just so exciting. Makes me want to go back and do it all over again.
I know, I can see you and they kept showing the video, and you were always on the floor rolling around hugging everybody. Those are exciting moments, because second place usually sucks.
It does. We got second next year. It was not as fun.
Yeah, I remember those moments too, and they were so much fun. And I remember a lot of really fun moments in college. And what the difference was, in high school, I was usually on the bench coaching you. Mm-hmm. And then when you were in college, I got to go to the bar with the other parents, and I got to be a parent.
Yeah.
And then, have a couple beers and go to the games, and then that added just a whole other element of fun watching you play those sports. But I think all of that, when you were in college, what was your major in your mind? Like, what did you think you were going to do? What were you studying?
I was studying business administration with a Spanish minor.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. And you're using your Spanish minor?
In no way, except when I go to Mexico and, we need beers and need to tell the taxi driver where to go. That's about it.
That's about it. So at that time, did you feel like you were looking ahead to, were you really good at looking ahead at the future? You're kind of like, I'm just kind of going to flow by. I'm going to get this degree and I don't know what I want. What were you doing?
I had no idea what I was going to do. I thought I wanted to coach for a while, and then I thought maybe something in marketing or the business route. There were certainly things I knew I didn't want to do. But as far as what I wanted to do, I wasn't really sure. And so I coached for a couple years and was in grad school, and then realized I needed to get out of Kearney and the college lifestyle, and so left. And the opportunity to work with my parents came up, and it was kind of good timing, and the rest was history. I still didn't think I was going to do that full time, though. I never thought I would continue working with you guys. I thought it was just kind of a filler job, and then started to get to know the industry, get to know so many amazing people at all the different events, and saw the potential of what this business could really be for me individually, and the rest was history.
And I think it's interesting, the discovery you talked about, being in a small town and then moving to Omaha, which seemed like you would never move to such a big city, and now we've been here and it seems like the smallest town in the world. Omaha does. Mm-hmm. Mainly because the connections are just run so deep. We're just so interwoven. You always say it's the how many degrees, and you narrow it down.
People say there's 7 degrees of separation, and I think in Omaha there's like 2.
Yeah.
When you meet somebody, they always know somebody that you know.
Correct.
It's
The
crazy.
The connections
Crazy.
are amazing, and that really goes to how we've been able to build our business and keep things building was because of all of those connections and getting to know people, and through that process starting out doing a lot of networking and just putting our name out there. And I think we both felt like we lived a little bit under a rock of really flooding ourselves in putting ourselves into a state of vulnerability, like we're going to let people see who we are and know who we are, and we're going to go out and meet people the same way. And that's really how we've developed business over time, is just being honest with who we are and what we do, being real with where our talents are. And if you think about your potential, and I always look at it with Tammy and I work here, and Tammy's my sister, and Tammy and I are both in our 50s, and then we have Cola and Jackie, who are both in their 30s, and we have Maria, who's in her 20s. So this delightful array of ages, and we always say Tammy and I are the wise eyes, and the other three are the fresh eyes, and sometimes Jackie and Cola realize Maria's eyes are way fresher than yours. They're older than they think.
Yes.
But it makes a really great blend, or a great mix, a really great soup du jour,
Soup
so
du
to
jour.
say,
The
of
best.
putting that together. I realize I'm using my hands too much, and I'm not supposed to do that. I'm learning. And so one of the things I want to ask you, when you think about your future and moving forward and continuing to develop Soul and Swag, I see you as a person that, like, sometimes I'm kind of jealous of her, because like pretty much everything you do is it seems like it comes rather easy. And I know it isn't always that way, but you definitely make it look like that, which I think is why you're a pang wangler. But I think one of the things I want you to maybe answer or talk about is, if you think about your potential and where you're at right now, and I have learned this in my life, that potential can begin at any moment you want to. It doesn't matter what age you're at, whatever you want to pursue, or if you persist hard enough, you can choose to do what you want to do and try new things. And if you think about your potential, like, what is it that will push you to the edges, to that outer fence of really where you want to go on the horizon and what you're striving for? What does that look like for you?
It's a tough question, Mom. I think there's certain numbers and stuff that I could break down and talk about, but I don't think that's as important as creating a culture that people want to be a part of. And fortunately, so far, I think we've done a pretty good job at that, but it's always something that's top of mind of how do we do better? How do we work better together? How do we simplify for our customers? Because sometimes we talk about things thinking they know what we're talking about, and they don't. So how do we continue to just be a better company and individuals and service our customers better? But ultimately, how are we just being good people, doing business the right way, taking care of things when there's a problem? And I think that is going to gradually grow us into what we're supposed to be. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I don't want to we never want to get too big where we lose who we are at our core at Soul and Swag. And so of continuing to develop all of that, but making sure we stay true to who we are and how we want to do business, and pushing ourselves, but not going too far that we lose any of that.
That's an awesome answer. I love that.
This
I
is
love
a
being
tough question.
I love being on this journey with you, and it's so much fun. And this has been fun to add this element in here. I didn't mean to just put Cola on the spot today, but I kind of did. She's like, "What are you going to ask me?" And I didn't tell her because I knew she'd have brilliant, wonderful answers. And sometimes we're going to be a little crazier like we were last week and do goofy things. And sometimes we're just going to kind of maybe dig in a little deeper and ask some fun, but yet heavier questions so that we can all relate with each other. So with all the goofiness that goes on in my brain and all of the humor that we have here, we have to have the real conversations as well. And I think that's what makes us all better humans and better balanced with connecting with all of you out there and with each other right here at Soul and Swag.
Yeah, and share with us maybe what some of your fears are, and as we head into a new year and put this crazy year behind us and still more craziness ahead, maybe not your fears, but some of the biggest obstacles you have. I don't like the word fear sometimes. I don't know, I have a mixed feeling with the word fear. So what are some of the obstacles, and how are you looking to to handle those. We
Awesome.
can do it. You
We
can
got
do it.
this. Here's to Soup du Jour, and wrapping up another month and on to the last month of 2020. Thank God.
Cheers.
Cheers.